I can't hear you.
That means today, then I'll keep it in the for now.
Um, yeah, go for it. Yes, go for it. Okay. All right, we are beginning. Oh, sorry. Uh, all right. So we're gonna begin now. We're doing Srimad Bhagavatam,
Close back.
9, chapter 191. So let's do our invocations. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
191. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
All right. Narayanam Namaskritya.
Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narotamam. Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam.
Saraswatim Vyasa.
Tato Jayam Mudiraye.
Jayamudiraye.
Michael, you're the only one here. Go for it.
Before starting the Srimad Bhagavatam, one should first, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer their respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Jai. Rinvatam Swakata Krishna.
Swakata Krishna.
Punya Shravana Kirtana.
Punya Shravana Kirtana.
Vidyantastoya Badrani.
Vidyantastoya Bhadrani.
Vidhunoti Suhritsatam.
Vidhunoti Suritsatam.
Okay, go for it, number 2.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma within everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart of material desire from the devotee who has the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Very nice. Nashtaprayeshva Badreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Utamashloke. Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. No, Path will do it. Nashtaprayeshva verse.
Regular hearing of the classes of Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed. In loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with thanks to songs established as an irrevocable fact.
Jai. Good work, Pai. All right. So we are on the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam of Canto 1. It's very nice, very nice chapter. We just finished the Queen Kunti's prayers. And then eventually what ended up happening is that Krishna was ready to leave, go back to Dwarka. He had many more things he wanted to do in this world, at least a few more. And then he was trying to wrap up his pastimes. So what ended up happening is that Yudhisthira was lamenting that Krishna was leaving, and he was also lamenting that now he's left with a whole world to rule, but also so many dead people, and because he's a soft-hearted devotee, and also because he's put into this bewilderment due to the Lord's Leela, he's lamenting, and even Krishna can't pacify him. So when Krishna can't do something, then what does that mean? Who is the one who can do it? If Krishna can't do it, then who can do it? No, there is someone. Well, Bhishma here, but who is Bhishma? What's that? No, Krishna's devotee. If Krishna can't do something, it's mostly because he doesn't want to do it. Krishna can do anything. It's kind of like a trick. But if he can't do something, like he couldn't pacify Yudhisthira, and also we saw he couldn't also get Arjuna to kill Ashvatthama at that time. Why? Because Krishna has some other plan here, and he ultimately wants to glorify his devotees. So now Bhishma is going to be the one to do what Krishna supposedly couldn't do. But why? Because this ultimately, the Lord has a plan to glorify his devotee, which is Bhishma. Which is very nice. I think Keshava Gopal mentioned that yesterday in his class about the why Krishna does what he does. He ultimately wants to glorify his devotee. Krishna has no need to engage anyone in devotional service. He has no need actually for it. He's self-satisfied. He's the ultimate Atmaram. But he does it. Why? Because he wants to give pleasure and glorification to the devotees. And ultimately this gives him much more pleasure rather than kind of being the ultimate, I do everything and no one does nothing. That would be monism. That would actually be like the Mayavadi type of, what's the need for personality in the first place? Personality exists due to the exchange of relationships. That's why we're in a personal movement. That's why the relationships we cultivate with the Vaishnavas and with Krishna, but most importantly the Vaishnavas, even more important than Krishna, because we have no access to Krishna without the relationship with the Vaishnavas. Without the Vaishnavas, we're finished. Without Srila Prabhupada, without Srila Prabhupada's devotees, without the representatives of Srila Prabhupada, today we're finished. We have no access to Krishna. It's, everyone has an impersonal access to God. Oh, dear Lord, I want this, I want that, I want this. Fine. But what is the actual relationship? Even the Christian religion, it's all about having a personal relationship. So anyhow, let's hear about the personal relationship that Bhishma has with the Lord. I was reading just the other day that when Bhishma was fighting Krishna in the battlefield, well, Krishna wasn't fighting, he was driving the chariots, but he was launching arrows into Krishna. But Krishna, it's said that felt just as good. Vishwanath Chakravarti says this, and this is a little controversial, but I'll say it anyway because it's fun. It's nice. That the arrows launched by Bhishma in the heat of like the Veera Ras, or the fighting Ras that Bhishma had with Krishna. There's a whole pastime of why Bhishma was very angry, because Krishna made Bhishma break his vow, and Bhishma is not one to break a vow. So Krishna forced it to happen though. So Bhishma made a vow that he was going to make Krishna break his vow, because Krishna vowed not to fight. And so Bhishma was like, well, I'm going to fight you so intensively, everyone will die, or you'll be forced to break your vow. And what ended up happening? Krishna broke his vow, because that's the Leela. So we're gonna that will be mentioned in this chapter. But it's said that in the midst of that exchange between Bhishma and Krishna and Arjuna, it's said that the arrows that were launching into Krishna, the very powerful arrows of Bhishma, felt like the romantic kissing between. It felt just like the romantic kissing that Krishna and his young girlfriends in Braj would experience. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says like that. I don't have the qualification to say like that.
The reason Krishna chose to break the vow is like he wanted to teach Bhishma the importance of vow. A vow is only as importance of importance only if it's used to preserve dharma, and because Bhishma's vow of serving the Kaurava dynasty has never fulfilled and never used to protect dharma. That's why he was teaching Bhishma that the vow should be broken if it's not protecting dharma.
Yes, there's many things happening.
That's the major reason.
That's a major reason. There's another vow that actually just got broken, where he vowed to kill the Pandavas that day, and Krishna arranged to steal Duryodhana's arrows that Bhishma infused all his austerity into. And so there's a couple things, but ultimately it's to facilitate Leela between the Lord and his devotee. And this is mentioned actually, this example is mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion as an example of Veera Ras, or the chivalrous Ras. Krishna likes a good fight, and actually Krishna can only fight, the only person who can give Krishna a good fight is his devotee. That's why Jai and Vijay from the spiritual world. So then they took 3 births. What are the 3 births? You know? Yes. And Kumbhakarna, that's 2. Jagai and Madai is like a bonus. but there was Shishupal and Dantavakra as well. So in Krishna Lila. So but the Jagai and Madai were like a bonus for Chaitanya Lila. But that's so if Krishna wants a good fight, only his devotee can really give him a good fight. And actually this is mentioned in the Madhurya Kadambini by again Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. This is why because it doesn't necessarily make sense if they're in Vaikuntha. How could they come under the modes of ignorance and not allow the 4 Kumaras to come in? It doesn't actually make sense. But if there's a deeper reason, it does make sense. If Krishna wants to experience the Vira Ras, which he does, and his dear devotees know how to do that, and they have a desire to serve him, which is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, then Krishna can arrange that even in Vaikuntha, you slipped up, you fell into the mode of ignorance, you got to go down here. But ultimately, it's fulfilling their desire to serve their Lord. So that's why they took those births. So anyhow, that's not the subject matter today, but that might be fun to talk about. Let's read text 1. Sutu vacha iti bita prajadroha sarvadharma vivitsaya tato vinashanam pragad yatra deva vratopatat Sutu vacha Sri Sutta Goswami said iti thus bita being afraid of prajadroha because of killing the subjects sarva all dharma acts of religion vivitsaya for understanding tata thereafter vinashanam the place where the fight was held praga he went yatra where devavrata bhishmadev apatat lay down for passing away. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira went to the scene of the massacre. There Bhishmadev was lying on a bed of arrows about to pass away. Purport. In this 9th chapter, as it is willed by Lord Sri Krishna, Bhishmadev will impart instructions to King Yudhishthira on the subject of occupational duties. Bhishmadev will also offer his last prayer to the Lord on the verge of passing away from this mortal world, and thus become liberated from the bondage of further material engagements. Bhishmadev was endowed with the power of leaving his material body at will, and his lying down on the bed of arrows was his own choice. This passing away of the great warrior attracted the attention of all the contemporary elites, and all of them assembled there to show their feelings of love, respect, and affection for the great soul. So Prabhupada is hinting, and he was telling us in the purports in the last chapter as we were approaching this, that ultimately the reason Krishna couldn't pacify Yudhishthira is because there had to be some impetus for everyone to go and give Bhishma, he's a great devotee, everyone should give him a proper farewell, and then ultimately the Lord's going to give him the ultimate farewell. Actually, everything always works out as it should in devotional life. That's like one of the wonderful aspects of devotional life. You'll find that, wow, everything is always working according to the Lord's plan. And then actually this is one of the symptoms of Sharanagati that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he mentions, is that we're surrendered to the will of the Lord. Okay, the Lord arranged it like this. There must be some great reason for this. Let's see what it is. So we could always actually be excited for all of life's journeys and twists and turns and ups and downs and snows and tornadoes and droughts and whatever is going on. We have to know, wow, there's something wonderful about it. There's an opportunity here. And what's that?
Difficult to see in that moment.
Yes, very difficult. Why? Because we're attached to results. You know, Keshava Gopal did a very nice verse yesterday. about we're not, we shouldn't be attached to the results of our duties, where the fruit is not ours in doing our duties. What's actually ours is the prescription of doing the duty. Okay, we're given a duty, let me do it. No problem. So, let's see what happens here. We got some nice verses. Tadate bratara sarve, text 2. Sadashvai swarna bhushitai anvagachan riter vipra yasa domyadayastatha tada, at that time, te, all of them, bratara, the brothers, sarve, all together, satashwai, drawn by first-class horses, swarna, gold, bushitai, being decorated with, anvagacham, followed one after another, rathai, on the chariots, vipra, oh brahmanas, vyasa, your sage Vyas, domya, adayaha, and others, tatha, also. Does anyone know who domya is?
Huh?
Does anyone know who domya is?
Domya?
Domya.
Where is it?
It says right there in the translation.
Oh, it does say. Don't read the translation yet. I was trying to quiz you. He was the learned priest of the Pandavas. He was their personal priest. Even he followed them in the forest and so many things. For many years, he was their priest. So anyhow, I'm also. We'll read this translation, and then I realize I'm a brute, so I'll explain. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses, decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyas and rishis like Domya, the learned priest of the Pandavas and others. So everyone is coming to hear from Bhishma. Also, I get so excited to hear my own voice sometimes. I'm like a frog who likes to hear itself croak. But eventually, death will come, the snake of death will come and kill me. So I should not be so brutish and chant the prayers to the gurus instead. So you guys know them. If you want, they're in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the intro prayers. But all together. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamatamscha Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai. Oh wow. So welcome everyone. You didn't miss too much. We just did 2 verses. So you were around and heard them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So basically they're going to visit Bhishma Dev on the battlefield of Eros. And we'll just keep reading until there's something really noteworthy here. Text 3, 193. If you need a phone or anyone wants to share, maybe we can share with everyone. So, Bhagavan api viprashe Rathena sadananjaya Sater vyarochata nripaha Kuvera iva guhyakai Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Api, also, Viparishe, O sage among the Brahmanas. Rathena, on the chariot. Sadananjaya, with Dhananjaya, Arjuna. Saha, he, Tai, by them. Vyarochata, appeared to be highly aristocratic. Nripa, the king, Yudhishthir. Kuvera, Kuvera, the treasure of the demigods. Eva, as Guhyakai, companions known as Guhyakas. O sage amongst the Brahmins. Oh, well, you guys want to repeat? O sage amongst the Brahmins, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthir appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera, surrounded by his companions, the Guhyakas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Krishna wanted the Pandavas to be present before Bhishma Dev in the most aristocratic order, so that he might be pleased to see them happy at the time of his death. Kuvera is the richest of all the demigods, and herein King Yudhishthir appeared like him, Kuvera. For the procession along with Sri Krishna was quite appropriate to the royalty of King Yudhishthir. So because the Pandavas and Bhishma had such an affectionate relationship, we see that Krishna wasn't going to let Bhishma just lie there on his bed of arrows. Yes, Bhishma appeared like he sinned. Really, though, Bhishma was quite sinless and a great devotee of the Lord. But yes, from all externals, it definitely appeared like he sinned. So maybe him lying on a bed of arrows couldn't have been that pleasurable. But he did get the boon after the Bhishma Panchak 5 days that he would no longer be in pain and he would not be suffering from hunger and thirst in his condition. But still, lying on the bed of arrows and probably contemplating, well, the whole world just got destroyed here. That was the battle of Kurukshetra. And millions upon millions of deaths. That's why Yudhishthir is lamenting. But ultimately, we see that Krishna has deep affection for Bhishma. So he wanted to come back for Bhishma. He wasn't going to just leave Bhishma in this condition. That's why even he couldn't pacify Yudhishthir. So if the Lord can't do something, he can actually. He just has another reason why he won't fully do it, even though the attempt might look like he was there, right? So ultimately, the Lord had a greater plan, and he wanted to reunite the Pandavas and Bhishma. And also he wanted to be there present for Bhishma, because this was Bhishma's ultimate desire. Not only the Vaishnavas, but Krishna ultimately fulfills all of our desires. That's like one of the wonderful things about bhakti. And if he doesn't fulfill your desire, it's only because you might think that that desire you have is going to be good for you. But actually, Krishna knows way better. He's like, no, I have to protect you from that desire. That's not actually going to help you. So if you have some strong desire and Krishna has not fulfilled that desire yet, it's actually for your benefit. Don't worry. You can always be happy knowing, okay, Krishna he's protecting me. This is one of the symptoms of Sharanagati. There are 2 of the symptoms, kind of. You're always feeling, 3 of them actually. You're always feeling Krishna's protecting you, you're always feeling Krishna's maintaining you, and you're always trusting the will of the Lord. All of those things are, these are symptoms of being surrendered. There's 3 other symptoms. I'd have to drudge my brain to maybe figure it out. But ultimately, this is Krishna's plan here. And so we're going to see what Krishna has planned for Bhishma. And actually, like I told you guys earlier, last time we read this is my favorite chapter of the whole first canto. It's just the affection for Bhishma. And also it's nice because if you read the Mahabharata, Piyush was quoting, the kind of the context of the Mahabharata, you see what a nice relationship that Bhishma and the Pandavas had. It's such a nice relationship. And, for Krishna to kind of arrange that they had to go against each other, it was like a little, you don't want to blame Krishna, but it's kind of messed up a little, oh man, that's why Arjuna didn't want to fight the whole Bhagavad Gita. He didn't really care about killing his cousins. He didn't really care about that. He didn't want to fight Bhishma and he didn't want to fight Drona. That was his whole lamentation of the Bhagavad Gita. So, yes, it was based on worldly relationships. Krishna goes through that in the whole second chapter, the Sankhya Yoga he's giving. But ultimately, it's, they're affectionate relationships between devotees. And we should never want to fight other devotees. It's like a horrible type of thing, especially devotees you have affection and love and care for. But Krishna had arranged and he had a better plan. And the Bhagavad Gita, thank God that happened because we have the Bhagavad Gita. If we didn't have the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know what I would have done with this life. But anyhow, could we read a few more? Is that okay? All right. Drishtva nipatitam bhumo divashchutam ivamaram pranemu pandava bhishmam sanugasaha chakrina drishtva, thus seeing, nipatitam, lying down, bhumo, on the ground, diva, from the sky, chutam, fallen, iva, like, amaram, demigod, pranemu, bowed down, pandava, the sons of Pandu, bhishmam, unto Bhishma, Saanuga, with the younger brothers, Saha, also with, Chakrina, the Lord, carrying the disc. Translation: seeing him, Bhishma, lying on the ground like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava king Yudhishthir, along with his younger brothers and Lord Krishna, bowed down before him. Purport: Lord Krishna was also a younger cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthir, as well as the intimate friend of Arjuna. But all the family members of the Pandavas knew Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord, although conscious of his supreme position, always behaved in a humanly custom, and so he also bowed down before the dying Bhishmadev, as if he were one of the younger brothers of King Yudhishthir. This is very nice, and you see this constantly. And this is a perfect example that the Lord always will obey the dharmic customs, especially in his kind of Dwaraka, Mathura, Leelas. Anytime where that really doesn't apply as much is in Vrindavan. Krishna has a higher set of principles which kind of overshadow what's called the Aishwarya Jnana, or the knowledge of the Lord's opulence, of the supreme controller. So there, it's still very much present in even a higher degree, but it's completely overshadowed by the Madhurya Ras, or the sweetness. So Krishna, he has, the only time he wouldn't behave in the proper custom is when it's so sweet for him not to, that he'll have to act like that. So he does this all the time in Vrindavan. It's just one big existence of sweetness. What's that song? Madhuram, Madhuram, I don't know the words, but Madhuram, Madhuram, like that. Everything, it's like Krishna, he's sweet like this, he's sweet like this, and he's the king of sweetness. That's Vrindavan. But in the beginning of Bhagavatam, first 9 cantos, you're not going to know that about Krishna yet. It's not going to be revealed like that. The naughty Krishna is not there. Krishna is very dharmic. in first canto and all the way through actually. And then you'll see there's a higher principle in 10th canto. But as of for right now, you see this, that Krishna always, even though he's the supreme God of everyone, he could be very humble, like him and Arjuna used to lie in the same bed and criticize each other like friends would do, like when you and Michael are always teasing each other, and you guys lie in the same bed, no problem, but yeah, you guys can do like that because you're friends. So Krishna, with his relationship with the devotees, even though he's the supreme God, and if you have knowledge that, oh, this is the supreme God, like for instance, if, I don't know, the example people used to give when I first started hearing Bhagavatam classes, like, oh, if the president were here, but now the president position has seemed to have gotten so degraded, nobody respects the president position anymore. But if, now people respect CEOs,
Still respect Modi.
Yeah, Modi. The Indians respect Modi, so fine. The Prime Minister, if the Prime Minister were to come here, we would show him so much respect because we know his position, we have jnana of his position. But ultimately, if, I don't know, let's just say the Prime Minister of Argentina just walked in the door and he didn't tell me his position, I would treat him just like anyone else. I'd have a completely, total different relationship with him. So anyhow, Krishna, if he finds it favorable to the relationship, he'll cover over knowledge of his position. And that will make the relationship sweeter, actually. So it's in the beginning, it's so healthy and it's so good to know of Krishna's position. Bhagavad Gita, that is like totally what Bhagavad Gita is. But as you develop your devotional practices over time and over lifetimes, maybe many lifetimes, we have to be a little humble here to think, oh yeah, I'm going to get it this lifetime. Maybe it's possible. Prabhupada says it's possible. Our acharyas say it's possible. But, you don't know. You might have many to deal with due to our encrusted anartha nivrittis, the stage of anarthas. We have so much conditioning. I'm always marveling about how I'm becoming more and more like my parents as I get older. I'm just like marveling. Holy crap. How does this keep happening? I have been committed to not do what they're doing my whole life, but still yet the conditioning is so strong to just be like your parents, because that's like what you absorbed when you were in that, like, what's that, the theta state, the modern scientists say, when you're just absorbing all the information. So, it's the conditioning is very deep. Krishna can completely sever it if he'd like, but he might have something for you to learn going through this process, and he likely does. So anyhow, I don't know what that has to do with this, but yeah, we might have a long way to go. But as we develop our relationship with the Lord, we're in for a marathon. It's not a race. We're in for a marathon. As we develop our relationship with the Lord, we might find one day where Krishna has different customs. For before Yudhishthira, he would bow before Yudhishthira. You're the king. You're the elder. But before Arjuna, he'd pal around like you two do. And, and before Nakula and Sahadev, he'd be like how I look at a lot of you guys, like, oh, you guys, my juniors, like, let me give you some blessings, let me give you a hug or something like some senior affection. So, depending on our relationship with the Lord, it will be like that. Now, there are some clues as to what our relationship might be like. Prabhupada calls us Rupanugas. You've heard this before? What does Rupanuga mean? Yes. So that's good. Now there's a kind of a movement within the movement. People say, well, we're Prabhupada Nugas. Maybe. But Prabhupada's a Rupanuga, so then you would also be a Rupanuga. Like this. So Rupa Goswami, I don't know if you're familiar with all these things, but Rupa Goswami actually has a specific relationship with the Lord. And what that relationship is and looks like, that'll be revealed. It's probably not a first canto Bhagavatam class. But if we become followers and we're in a lineage of followers of that Rupanuga, it's also very likely that this will be the relationship. At least if you follow this path, the relationship, that will be the emphasis. So anyhow, I think I'll speak cryptically and I'll leave it there. But if you keep studying, you may know a little bit more of what I'm talking about. But anyhow, let's read, yes, a short purport. Let's read one more verse and then we'll end. Tatra brahmarshaya sarve devarshayascha satama rajarshayascha tatrasan drashtum bharata pungavam tatra there brahmarishaya rishis among the Brahmins sarve all Devarishayaha, rishis among the demigods, cha and satama, situated in the quality of goodness, Rajarishayaha, rishis among the kings, cha and tatra, in that place, asan, were present, drashtum, just to see, Bharata, the descendants of King Bharata, Pungavam, the chief of. Translation. Just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the rishis amongst the demigods, Brahmins and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. Purport. The rishis are those who have attained perfection by spiritual achievements. Such spiritual achievements can be earned by all, whether one is a king or a mendicant. Bhishma Dev himself was also one of the Brahma Rishis and the chief of the descendants of King Bharata. All rishis are situated in the quality of goodness, all of them assembled there on hearing the news of the great warrior's impending death. So this is actually like a really good sign. If all the rishis are gathering, that's like, oh, something good is about to happen. What are some two other conversations that happen where all the rishis like, oh, we should gather for this? Actually, I know three I'm thinking about. Two parts in the Bhagavatam, with Sutta Goswami, and then where else? Yeah, Maharaj Parikshit, the actual Bhagavatam, right? And then, where else did all the rishis and the demigods and the sages gather? This one's a little bit more, less evident, but if you read the 11th chapter of this text, it's mentioned they're all there witnessing. Not that I know. That they could have all. I'm sure Narada Muni goes all over the place. He's always looking for a good instance. But yeah, Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, it said that the sages are seeing you like this, and they're saying, "Alas, alas." I don't remember the exact verses, but they're also there present. So like this, these are our scriptures. So now the sages are all gathering. So that means something good is about to happen. But I'll have to leave us on a cliffhanger because it's 9 o'clock. So tomorrow we may get into this a little bit deeper. But yeah, I hope you guys have a really nice day. I usually don't do questions, and with them I'm just like, all right, you guys, if they have a burning question, they just ask me, in the midst of anything. But if anyone has questions or comments, please, I'll invite special circumstance today. So you have guests and equals and seniors. So, anything?
I just really appreciate what you said.
Okay.
I just really appreciate what you said about cleansing the heart, like Leonardos, and how you're slowly realizing that you're turning into your parents, even
Yes.
though you're trying so hard to just practice bhakti, but it just keeps creeping in because of conditioning.
Yes.
I really appreciate that because I feel it myself, and I'm like, wow, yeah, it's so true. So it just gave me more inspiration to keep reading Bhagavatam and learning all these stories and learning from them.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much. I hope we all can get through this Anartha Nivritti stage, but it's so deep, once you start realizing what even the anarthas are, and then also being more honest with yourself. You're like, wow, I'm really a lot. I thought I was here, but I'm really like, oh my God. So,
And we go up and down.
yes, and but yeah, we just keep making progress, and the main thing with that stage is not to make the two most important aparads. It's pretty much one aparad. It's Nam aparad, but the chief Nam aparad is Vaishnav aparad. So if we can get through this aparad stage where we can learn this very, very sincerely and don't do it, we can clear the stage much more easily. But until we learn these things, where it's bound to happen, and this will be the downs that you were mentioning. When you go down, it's when you make an aparad. Even this morning, I was chanting my Gayatri, and I was like literally convulsing, thinking about an instance that I did. Actually, it was the first program I ever did here. And I was thinking about like a devotee that she was nearby at the time. Her name was Manjari. And she's a very, very nice, really, really nice devotee. But I didn't know her yet, so I kind of just like assumed she was just like, like everyone else, like I'm her equal, and I just had like a few exchanges in the program where I felt like, I was looking back and realizing like how much of an idiot I am to act like that. And I was literally like convulsing and like grimacing in like my heart, like I can't believe I did that, and there's lots of things that we do in the more neophyte stage that we can't recognize because we don't have the adhikar to even recognize that we're making these type of offenses. But it's why it's very important, as you were saying, to keep reading and keep learning about this process and keep going through the process, taking advice from seniors, and so eventually I'm going to have to, when I speak to her, I doubt she's watching, but I'll probably have to speak to her. I'll have to like beg for some forgiveness for just being kind of so foolish, in my engaging. And there's, I'm sure more, Krishna only reveals a few of these offenses that I make to me at a time. But the more I go through this process, I'll probably realize, oh man, I did this person, I did this, and I have to go to each of these people. Just a last thing I was thinking about on that subject. Some people might be like, well, I made offenses to thousands of devotees. I've done so many. Madhai had this lamentation to Nityananda. He I don't even know who I offended. I screwed up so many times. I have no idea who I offended. So what Nityananda Prabhu instructed him to do is to create a bathing gut, and serve the Vaishnavas. Do something that serves the Vaishnavas. Now, practically, how do at Syracuse, what am I going to do? Make a bathing gut and people can use it? It's illegal in America to make a bathing gut. You have to buy property, so many things. So, but the principle, he was like, no, just make a bathing gut and you're fine. No, the main thing was serve Vaishnavas. So, like Keshava Gopal is very nicely, he bought this facility, he built on this facility, so many things with this facility to be used ultimately in serving Vaishnavas. And this is what's recommended when we don't even know what we've done. Just set up your life in such a way that, all right, I'll do this, I can do this, and I could serve Vaishnavas this way. Because we're so, especially in our neophyte, we're so pompous. And like one of the aparads is, it's mentioned in Madhurya Kanamani. If you ever read Madhurya Kanamani, this really actually goes through this whole process very nicely. But one of the aparads mentioned is like when you just learn something and then all of a sudden, it's not like an aparad actually, it's an anartha. It's an anartha. But when you just like learn something and you get very proud of your learning and you're like, oh, look what I read yesterday, and but has it actually been realized and actualized yet? No, like it's going to take time. But anyway, we can get very proud of our learning, and pride is a huge anartha that leads to so many other potential aparads. Like look at Indra, the Govardhan Leela. He literally tried to kill all of Krishna's best friends. what an aparad that is, but this is what like pride will do to you. So we have to be very, very vigilant in continuing this process, because it's just, we're very foolish if we think it's just cheap and easy, and so no problem. I'll study a little bit in the morning sometimes and I'll get it. No, this is like a lifelong thing, maybe many lifetime long thing, maybe hundreds of lifetimes. Who knows? It's between you and Krishna, but also it's, there's two elements. There's your own bhajan, which can be relevant to your sincerity, how sincere you are in your personal practice. And then it's the mercy of Krishna the rest of the way. But how you have your part to play. How serious are you? Are you just, I'll just do the basics. I'll do the bare minimum. Maybe. Or are you going to make everything? Krishna asks, he says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishami masucha. What's it mean?
Abandoning all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me.
Yes. So what's surrender? What percent is he asking for?
100%.
Yes, as 100%. But we get, I'll give 2%. No problem. 5, 10. No, it's, until we give 100%, we have to go through, So like that. So okay. Anything else? I'm sorry, I spoke too long today. Prabhu?
Well, just a thought that came up to mind when you said 100%, right?
Yes.
There's a nice videos, recordings called, I think it's called Prabhupada Memories.
Yes.
And over there's a recording by Jayapataka Goswami where Prabhupada, is on the Vyasasana, and he's, there are many enthusiastic devotees, and then he's asking, Krishna is asking you 100%, right? And some of the devotees are still enthusiastic, but in their mind they say, well, I'll never get to 100%. So Prabhupada is on the Vyasasana and he's looking at the devotees, and then he's saying 90%, 90%. So some devotees became enthusiastic, and then he started walking towards the steps because he was up on the Vyasasana, and then he says 80%, 80%, and then all the devotees, and then there's still some that are, and then he steps one step, put his chadar, and then he says 70%, and that was the final thing, and then he walked out. So as long as you can make 70%, this is Prabhupada's conclusion.
Prabhupada is coming to us, giving us lots of mercy.
He gave us mercy. He gave us the 16 rounds and the 17%, 70%. So throughout your day, whatever activities you do, 70% should be Krishna conscious, including sleep.
It's very good. And it's my hunch that if you hit the 70%, you'll be forced into the to eventually get to 80, 100 and everything.
The Krishna will pull you.
So very good. Thank you. That's.
But Jayapataka Goswami said it much better, so I recommend to watch that video. Yeah.
That's very good. So all right. Give it 70% today, everyone. And Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Enjoy Prasad. Grantharaj.